Wow, this is Dr. Susan Gitao coming to you live from Kigali, Rwanda, the place called Kichukyo. I've been here for 1 week, courtesy of Mhub, that is Mental Health Hub in Kigali. We've been partnering with them, especially in spreading the gospel of mindful self-compassion. So what have I been doing here for one whole week? I had training, a give back training through Mhub to several NGOs and learning institutions in mindful self compassion. It was just a short course, introduction of good relationships and good neighborhood, because Rwanda is one of the Eastern African countries, and I have been coming here since 2010 until COVID hit. So I'm back after COVID. And it may interest you to know what mindful self-compassion is and why was it very, very crucial for me to actually come and train the same to partners or organizations that partner with Empire. One, mindful self-compassion is actually based on one force field called mindfulness. And mindfulness basically means having a moment to moment experience without judgment, but with full acceptance. And in many cases in our lives, we are distracted by so many things. There is so much in the environment that can distract you. Can distract you from your dreams, can distract you from coping well, maybe with your stresses in life, can distract you from focusing on healing your traumas, can distract you from focusing on what is very important for you in the here and now. And so, mindful self compassion is another school of thought, is another self care practice that was actually founded by two very beautiful, important people. That is Christine Neff, based in the USA, Texas, and Chris Gamma, based in Boston. And in the year 2003, they worked through this program, Mindful Self Compassion, and came up with three components that actually are foundational to the practice of mindful self compassion. One is called common humanity. As I suffer in Africa, there's someone else suffering in Australia, someone else suffering in England, someone else suffering in maybe Europe or in India. But here we are saying, as human beings, we need to accept suffering is part of our lives. So long as we are living, we are breathing, we are on earth, suffering is part of our life. But in most cases, you realize when an individual is going through a tough moment, they think they are just alone. They don't think there could be somebody else suffering. And so, this common humanity brings a sense of connectivity, a sense of connection, a sense of connectedness, that we are suffering together. As human beings, it's common to suffer. The second component is kindness. No matter what is happening in somebody's life, no matter what is happening to a community, a family, it is always good to remember that treating yourself with that care, self kindness, compassion is very important. At least it helps you to tolerate, it helps you to go through it, it helps you to process what you could otherwise not process in case you're pushing away what you're supposed to face and properly walk through, swim through, and live through. We actually say break to breakthrough. And so self kindness is very critical. Sometimes no one will understand you in this whole world but yourself. Sometimes no one will understand what you're experiencing but yourself. And so self kindness is a major driving component and a concept in mindful self compassion. Then, component number three is basically what we call compassion, paying attention to your own suffering, paying attention to your own pain, so that again you do not enhance what we call denial. It's like, here I am. I know I have lost someone maybe I love so dearly. I know I have lost a loved one. I have lost a job. I have lost an opportunity. And this pains. This is painful. But I can stand it. And because it keeps coming back to me over and over again, I can learn to live with it and I can move on with my life. And so compassion is basically noticing suffering and doing something about that suffering. Sometimes compassion is the best way to befriend our pain. And when we do befriend our pain, then it becomes part of our life to always tap from that resource. So you can imagine that in this life you said you had nothing that stresses you, nothing that depresses you, it would be a big lie. Because right now I could be experiencing a moment of happiness, and the next second I could be deep into something that is quite distressing. So why Rwanda? Mental Health Hub has been a partner together with GI, Global Engagement Institute, and together with Center for Mindful Self-Compassion and Susan Getao Counseling Foundation, the one that came here to actually support them to train some of the partner organization participants in mindful self-compassion. We know what Rwanda has been through, and we actually acknowledge the pain that Rwanda went through in 1994. And sometimes it's very critical to understand that if in other countries where we have had war, where we have had strife, people are still in pain, we would not want to ignore that in Rwanda there are people who are still going through the process of healing. Sometimes because of triggers that you're reminded of something that happens. And in this country, one of the things that they have done, they have not denied what happened. So they have made memorial genocide sites in the whole country. And sometimes there are generations that will come and see and view and hear and learn. And what we call vicarious trauma could be a source of suffering and pain to some of them. You can imagine with mindful self compassion that they can learn to have this self care no matter what happens in their lives, no matter what triggers are brought up. Sometimes when they think of forgiving and they see the people who actually maybe hurt them, it might feel like it's difficult to forgive. But with mindful self compassion, day in, day out, a daily practice, you swim through, you break through to healing. You don't actually do it because you want to feel better, but paradoxically, my experience, you end up feeling better. You end up feeling like you're full of compassion to the other person. You're full of forgiveness to the other person. You are full of motivation to move on with life. So the other thing is that Mhub came to be in 2019 because COVID-19 brought in a lot of stress, depression, burnout to employment workforce. And so Mhub mainly deals with people in employment. And these people would want to be productive. These people would want to continue being the best of the employees. So Mhub has a very big workplace wellness programs. And so bringing in mindful self-compassion and combining that, for example, with yoga that they do here in Kigali, it's a very, very powerful practice because not everybody will make it to camp physically, but they can have trainings online, they can have sessions online, and with mindful self compassion, having done this in person, one on one, we wanted to test how it is. It's the most powerful. Africans like to talk, Africans like to share. But for those who cannot do the in person, we have programs online. And so coming back here feels like home for me. Coming back here feels like I need to support my own. And coming back to Rwanda always makes me relax. Why? There's a lot of peace and security in Rwanda. Loving people and naturally people who are calm. And maybe the other thing that my self compassion will never forget is to do charity. And so I was here with my team from Susan Getao Counseling Foundation. We were able to visit a teen moms program and Blossom of Bridges initiative. And we were happy because we ran a similar teens program back in Kenya, and we saw how we can come in also probably partnership with the Mhub and empower the people that support team moms and see what else. You never know. Maybe you're watching me and you could be interested to partner with us so that we can actually make the Teens Moms program here in Rwanda and in Kenya a better program a program that has a future, a program that can help them to see the beauty in their children. And last but not least, I am a boy child advocate. I am also a girl child advocate. For me, I believe in the two. And so I visited Don Bosco and gave an introduction, a sensitization seminar talk on mindful self compassion and how the young people can also start growing this lifestyle practice of mindful self compassion for themselves and for one another. I'm probably looking forward to having a great partnership with Don Bosco uh, Youth Tibet Youth Training Center here in Kigali in collaboration with them. Well, and finally, I had to take my team to Kigali Genocide Memorial. It's a place that everybody who comes to Kigali, because it's right in the heart of Kigali Center, you can always visit and see why violence will never solve any human problems. And mindful self compassion is a practice that is actually a global bushfire. You just Google about mindful self compassion, and you can see it is a practice that all of us need, because every human being needs to feel loved, needs to feel compassionate, needs to feel motivated, and needs to feel positive. It is a practice I would encourage you. If you're interested, kindly look at that number down there, 0722 367619, and let us know. If you're in Rwanda, kindly Google Mhub, get in touch with Mental Health Hub, and you're going to find them online. And if you want us to come and treat together with them back here in Rwanda, I want to tell you our resource is huge. We're going to come back and exactly do that. Thank you so much, Susan Gitao. Always subscribe and share with another person. Asante sana, miracles.